And we're live. Welcome to 30 with Karen and Justin. We changed the name. I hope everybody likes the name. We changed it a little bit just to try to spice it up a little bit. We're doing 30 minutes. It's Karen, it's Justin. And so we thought we'd change it and make it something fun. And so we're here again today. It's Thursday, it's 1 o'clock, bang on time. Today we got a great guest. This story actually may stop you in your tracks because it's a really cool story and a really inspiring story to kind of bring you from what he came from and the sort of the moment that changed his life to him finding his purpose in wanting to help other people, which is pretty incredible. Chris Hayward is a performance coach from Oakville, and he basically turned his deep personal loss into success. And from what I can tell, this guy is raw, real, and full of a heck of a lot of heart. So, Chris, thank you for coming on the show. How you
Yeah,
doing
man.
today?
Yeah, I'm pretty damn wonderful, man. It's good to be here. After listening to what you two do, I feel like buying a house from you today. You know,
Yay!
Sold. Where do we sign?
I'm good, man. But you know what? I'm always good. If I'm not fine. I'm a lot. You got to be better than that. Fine's not good enough anymore.
Right.
So
So you got to be great. Good to great. There's a book called
yes,
Good to Great, I think.
that's kind of a cool name. I like
Yeah. So,
that.
Chris, you started with, so let's just go about how you got to where you got to. And I really want to start with kind of your life story in a little ways because you're quite a traveled human being and you have a really interesting background that sort of took you from being a young man into where you are today and sort of the idea of the moment that changed everything. But let's start with let's start with the Discovery Channel or what that sort of stuff. There was Discovery Channel, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, yeah, because
You actually worked on the Discovery Channel.
I worked for a small. I worked for a small production company called Jack McKinney Productions, and he's a friend of mine. He had a contract with the Discovery Channel. I think he did work at the BBC, but we did all the Shark Week stuff. And that was, you know what? That was just a kid growing up in Toronto. I was a scuba diver. I saw him make a film, and I said, "Boy, this would be cool." And I flew. I did a fast course with Panavision. Told him how great it was the camera. That was a lie. But I literally, I was what I wanted to do. I've never sent a resume in my life, so I flew to Los Angeles, and I there was still, believe it or not, there's still the yellow pages then. And I looked up his phone number and I said, "My name's Christopher. I'm from Toronto, and I just saw your film." And I said, "I'm just California for the weekend. Can I come introduce myself for 5 minutes?" And if he said no, that's a long. How bad can it be if you're staying in LA for a weekend? So he said, "Yeah, come on over." And it was just, he just said, I wasn't the most popular candidate, but he goes, just the way I approached him, I flew to California and I just kind of clicked with him. And he's long retired.
It's an interesting message because you, like you said, you haven't really you didn't send a resume. You just kind of showed up and you put yourself in front of them. You did something that probably 99.9% of people would never have done, stepped out of your comfort zone and use your money to fly to California to go see this guy. And I think that's the effort level that kind of got in his head and went, well, if he's willing to do that just to be here, maybe he's got something. And so what did you end up doing for him? Like you mentioned to me earlier, like you were carrying, like back in the day when there was reels of film
Well, yeah,
and things like that, right?
there wasn't little SD sticks back then. There was magazines going to 16 millimeter camera,
Mm.
and they were big and they were heavy, and it had to be preloaded with the film. And you better, because it was a lot of underwater motion picture, a lot of wildlife. So when your camera's out of film, your next magazine, boy, it better be ready. That film better be loaded because if it works, great. If it tangles up, oh, see this? I can hear him now. Oh, sorry, John. But pressure you learn. But we in Indonesia for 6 or 7 months, just filming underwater, filming the Mariana Trench, filming Papua New Guinea, Indonesia. It was beautiful. I mean, that part of the world, poor people, but we have everything, and they're the happiest people. They're so content. But
And they've got just like huts and trees and animals, and that's about it, right?
Well, back then when you had to go to the washroom, you better have a good aim. Yeah, well, it's true. But you know what? We had Canadian American T-shirts, and we used to give the T-shirts away. Second time we went, we brought lots of T-shirts and we gave them away. And Saturday night, I remember sitting outside a TV store, and there was hundreds of people just looking at the television because they didn't have. You can afford a television. You can. Television is a luxury. What, you and I have five.
Mm.
So it was kind of nice because it made you so proud where you're from, and it made you think that, boy, I have everything. We have cars and we have, but that part of the world then they didn't have anything.
Mm.
They never complained. They're the most content people in the world. And I went home after I said to my mom and dad then, I said, I can't believe on how rich we are and how precious and like damn good life is. But we spent, I lost like 20 pounds because all we did is eat fish all day. The last week before we left, we discovered a KFC in a little town called Manado, Indonesia. We were there for, I don't, we were there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it was a real growing up part because I took a chance. I just wanted to do that. And but I'd come home to Toronto and I'd go to back work with my dad for a couple months. And then between the shoots, I'd go work with my dad. And then I'd go back to California to work with him again. I spent years with him. I ended up living down there. I got my American citizenship, but I'm still a proud Canadian living in Oakville. So it was a really cool moment because there was no, like, I got a mom who's just about to turn 98. She still lives by herself, has her own cooking and cleaning. And I talked to my mom about regrets. She goes, I don't have anything because everything I've ever wanted to do, your dad and I did. And my dad was British military. You grow up being the best. You grow up wanting to push yourself and take and get uncomfortable and take chances. You have to be uncomfortable.
Mm.
Being comfortable is great, but there's nothing changes.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta know what you want, know the people there, solve their needs, wants, and desires, and
So the most growth comes from the uncomfortability, is what you're kind of
yeah,
saying.
absolutely. Like you can, it's like the best thing is how many people want to lose 20 pounds? A lot of people. But the second they step on the scale, if you haven't been on a scale for 6 months or 6 years, your heart's gonna sink. You're gonna be stunned on how much weight you are. But that stepping on the scale is the best thing you ever did. Because that shock is what you need. Because your mindset changes instantly. You go, God, I better hurry. I see
Well, why
people.
do you think all of these supplements and things are selling so well when they tell you, "Oh, you can lose weight if you do this"? It's the comfortable, easy things that sell because people don't want to be uncomfortable. But what they don't realize is being uncomfortable in losing weight or, whatever you're trying to do is where you're going to see the best results, right?
Well, yeah, but the whole thing is you hear any performance coach will say, like I see people walking right now with a vest on full of lead, and they get in that they only go when they're in that pumped up mood. But you gotta, no matter what you gotta do, you gotta start slow, but just be really consistent. Don't
Yeah.
give up. And you gotta do these things you want to do when you don't feel like doing it. I think I want to get up. If I've got friends over for dinner or barbecue, I have to get up at 5 o'clock, go for a walk again. What are you kidding? But I just do it because I know you just you just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say 91% of people don't reach this is what I read. I just read a Tony Robbins article. He probably knows what he's talking about. But 91% of the people who don't hit their goal is because, and I've had clients of this, they just don't do the work
Mm.
because you're very comfortable. And like I said, being comfortable is great.
Mm.
Be comfortable in your marriage and everything. But if you want to change, you got to take the first step. And it's
Right.
once your first step goes, there's a mindset that clicks in. Once you have a little bit of success, your mindset will click in, and you'll automatically say to yourself, "Boy, what's next? What else can I do?"
So
Like,
we were just talking right before we hopped on about a little moment that happened to me a couple of days ago that
yeah,
where a father that I've spent a lot of time with over the last, let's call it 8, 9 months, because he was a hockey dad on my son's hockey team. and I got to know him very well. I didn't know him before, but I got to, with hockey teams, you get pretty close because you're traveling with these guys and these parents, and you get to know these people. He passed away the other day, and I mean, I would call us friends in the hockey world, but I wouldn't certainly say we were best friends or anything. We were acquaintances that really respected each other and knew each other. And it was one of those moments in my world that hit me really hard. Gave me a moment of mortality to try to it gave me a moment of like trying to turn everything into like I was really grateful for just everything I had in that moment and understanding that there was some gratefulness. And it actually was like a nice reset for me to kind of see what my world was with the struggles that I'm going through, to your point of saying like there's other people that live in much worse conditions and situations than I'm in. And so looking at that and understanding that we have a good life, I have a good family, I have a wonderful mother, even though we have our struggles. And so at the end of the day, just being grateful for all the things around me was a bit of a shock to my system in the moment. I think we need those resets. The reason why I'm mentioning this is you had a reset in a similar fashion with someone a lot closer to you that sent you down this path of this sort of Chris Hayward performance coaching path. And I would love to hear a little bit about that. So what was that reset and how did that affect you?
Well, I got a brother who, um, when I went to live in California, he went to live in Florida, and he played outdoor for Tampa Bay Rowdies. Then he was really athletic, but then one day he my wife and I sometimes we can joke, we can sometimes say, oh, good thing he's dead because we would have killed him for not doing this. He you laugh after a while, but he went up. He one day he peed blood, walked into the hospital, and they said you got a tumor in your it's the size of a football.
Oh
Hmm.
my.
Yeah,
Wow.
like
How
mine
old
fit.
was he? How old was he?
He was 55. I was 54 then, so I'm 64, so 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And you expect your mom and dad to go first. Your mom and dads don't don't want to go before they want to go after, they want to mom and dads go first. So when we heard that, and my dad had Alzheimer's, and we didn't even tell my dad. So that's we're struggling with my dad and my brother
Mm.
at the same time. And that's just my story, but there's a lot of people have stories. But you know what? You just deal with it, and it was the kind of thing that's yeah. When you think about it, it's like something's already missing. It's always what do you mean he's gone? Because you get used. He had cancer for 9 years before he died. So he pushed and pushed. But all of a sudden you have loved ones and they go and you're thinking, what do you mean he's gone? Like it's so damn freaking permanent.
It's permanent. Yeah.
Like it's not like it's not like a relationship you get over in 6 months. I mean you get over it because you gotta keep going in life. But yeah, what a it's yeah that sucked.
That's pretty straightforward language.
So,
It
so Chris,
sucked.
so Chris, what happened? Did you decided to
Well,
change your career because of this?
I started to, you know what? My dad was British military. When we were kids, my mom and dad walked everywhere. So your first inclination is to do things what you used to do. And so I just started to walk, just to grieve.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
it's,
Very
it's
interesting.
sometimes I think it's like a gift I didn't have to open because after a while, I mean, my walks, I walk some of my walks, I get 110,000 steps. I walk from Oakville to downtown Toronto. That's 9 hours. And that's no big deal now. I just
Please
do
tell
it.
me you took the train home.
Took the train. I'm crazy, not nuts. But you know what? I'll get to a point where I can walk halfway, but then again, I can watch my knee
Yeah,
fills out.
yeah. So
But
it's funny. It's funny you say that because I'm a walker and
oh
it's
yeah.
funny because I have two dogs and in the morning I go, oh, I'm just going to do a short walk today, right?
Mm.
Well, I end up going about 3K or 4K and just keep walking and then finally I get home, but it's always that I want to go further. I want to go further, and it just
Mm.
feels much better when you do that.
Well, it's nice, but it's walking. So when I started walking and I did so much of it, I remember being in the snow here and carrying my wife goes, you can't walk. It's a snowy. I brought a shovel and I shoveled between me. I shoveled with this sidewalk ahead of me. You'd be a little desperate in life is not such a bad idea. And I still do it. I did 4 o'clock this morning. I already did 10 Ks. You walk. Walking gives you momentum, gives you motivation, gives clarity. Walking's so damn good for you. It's like
Mm.
Yeah.
you
I
have to
agree. I agree. So tomorrow morning I'll try for the 10K. Okay.
be
There
great.
you
Well,
go.
just
You've
push yourself.
inspired someone.
I'm gonna try.
But you know what?
10K is to my office. So I'll just walk to my office with my dogs and
Well, you can
I
always
just think that's wonderful though, because it's funny because I just got an article off of TikTok and about nutrition and exercise, and they were talking about walking, and they said walking is the best for your clarity and in your thought pattern and everything.
And for mental health as a whole, it's just, I find it very cathartic and, clearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think about things and you discuss things with yourself when you're walking alone. And you
Mm-hmm.
look into the sky. I was walking the other day, the dogs, and it was just such a beautiful sky. Andy and I were out together, my wife and we were looking at the sky going, this is like, I could stare at this sky forever. And it just sort of washed over you, like the world washed over us in that moment.
Yeah.
And it kind of cleared us, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
really kind of neat. There's a lot to be said for that. So where did you go from there? So you grieved. Obviously, there was a grieving
Yeah.
process,
And
and
I
then
and
that turned into what? Where did that end up?
well, he had a business. I always wanted me to get involved in, and I just never did. Too close to comfort. I don't know. I had other stuff I wanted to do, but so I knew I couldn't help him because he's gone. His business was gone, and I said, you know what? I think, boy, I don't want to. You know what? I don't want to be like him. I don't want to. What happened to him? What happened to me? So besides the walking, I said I want to make. I can. I've always good at business. Always good helping people. And I looked at being a life coach. I looked up who's the best. I looked at Tony Robbins, and I found he's got a son named Jarek, who I'm still involved with today. He coaches a group of us, and he's just like his dad. His wife Amanda, they're brilliant. So I did his course, and it's always aftermath. There's always lots to do. So I kept doing that. And I thought to myself, I can't help my brother, but boy, I don't have a fancy website. I'm still trying to get it going. I don't all these social media things, but boy, you know what? I understand people. I understand where people are, how to get to where they want to go. When my wife and I have plans, we know how to get it all done. So that was my inclination to take a performance course with him,
Mm-hmm.
and it
And
makes
sorry, Gina is works with Tony Robbins. Is a
Yes, she does. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Gina. Do you know Gina? Gina,
no, you
Tina
know what?
Faubert.
I've Tony Robbins himself. I've never met him, but when I found out Tony Robbins had a son who looks like him, acts like him, s- s- he stands the same.
yeah.
And I went with his son just because his son seemed like a cool guy, and he had a performance course which he still does, and it was eye opening what I learned in that. I learned how to bottom line, no matter what struggle people are in, there's a way out of it. You have to understand that there's so many other people who maybe it's not um, a fault on your side, but there's so many other people who know more than you, who maybe been there and done that, who actually help you. Because asking for help is not a people think, oh, I've been in this business 25 years. I can't ask for help. I should find out. I should be able to solve that problem myself. But to ask for help, it's a sign of strength. And I learned how to solve a lot of problems. I just through reading, through education, through my brother. And I thought, boy, you got one shot at life, and I don't want to be 103, touch wood, and have any regrets. So I learned how to do everything. Everything I want, I dream about. My wife and I know how to do it, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty damn.
I'll say this when it comes to coaching. Like I came out. So my history is such that I started 20 odd years ago with Karen on her team. I worked for Karen for, I don't know, 15 or so years, and went out on my own and did my own thing. And when I went out on my own, my mindset was, I've done 15 years in this business. I learned what I needed to learn from my mom and my dad, who's also in real estate. And I know everything. And I thought I knew it all. And I tanked us. I literally tanked us. And it was that forward motion in that direction that got me into a mind space, and my brilliant wife, who turned around and said, we need help. And we found a coach. And at that point, the struggle after that became, okay, we found the coach. We made the decision to say, okay, we want coaching. We need coaching. We found the coach. The next level of that was becoming malleable enough to allow the coach to do their job with us, becoming teachable and coachable. Because I bet you, and you've probably dealt with this with some of your clients, that there's a lot of people that go, yeah, I'll go get a coach. But then when the coach says stuff, you're like, cool, fine, awesome. Nothing gets implemented. I know better than that. Or they think they know better. And it was a struggle even for me to become coachable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? Hell, I'm 64, man. I'm just learning this. It's so hard when you've been in business for a long time, or you're overweight, or you want to clear your debt, no matter what. I mean, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway's, he's got his problems. Every human being has a fault, has a problem they need help on. But it's the people who, what it's like people is like, this is your ceiling. If you don't ask for help, if you measure all your progress in your life, whether we measure people how they sleep, we measure people, how do you feel from 1 to 10? We help people measure everything in life. But if this is your ceiling, you keep hitting your ceiling all the time. But if you have the gall, to think, boy, you know what, I'm pretty good, but this, I want to get really big. I want to grow this business. There's people who probably know more than you, who can definitely help you. And it's nothing against you've done absolutely nothing. There's just people who were just been there, done that.
Yeah.
So you're strong, but it takes a lot of gall. And we did this in the course. It takes a lot of gall to admit that. So hats off to you, because you probably wouldn't be the good agent coach right now working with your cool mom if you didn't have that happen. You sometimes need your ass kicked. But as long as you don't keep getting kicked over and over and over again, then you're fine, right?
And I think that's the point, is that once you become coachable, like it literally, if you talk to my coach, she would tell you, oh, he was an asshole when I met him. Literally. And now if you talk to her today, we're practically best friends. And it's because of the fact that I just gave in, and I just succumbed and submitted to the system, submitted to the change, submitted to the uncomfortable of the
Sure.
change, to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to do these things in order for us to grow. Right.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't, I think part of it is, and I think you'll agree with me, is looking at what the goal and what the big why is. Right. Because for me, the big why was, I have a family to feed. I have a wife who I want to, I don't want to say this like I want to impress her, but I want to take care of her. I have
Sure.
2 dogs. I have all these things. I want to send a message to my mom to show her that I'm good at this. You know what I mean? There's all these little things that you want to do, that you have. And at the end of the day, the why was what kind of drove me to say, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, good for you, man.
And so that's where the change came from my point of view. And I feel like that's probably a common theme for you, if
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not mistaken.
it's you know what? Change is kind of weird at first because you're so comfortable where you are.
I
But
know, I know. Change
right?
is good though. Change is always good.
Well, yeah. But it's like once you get a bit of a change in you get over that feeling of uncomfortable, you automatically think, like what your cool mom Karen just said, you want to do 3, I want to do 10. You keep thinking, what else can I do? And you want more and more, and you learn to push yourself. You learn that I could be better, but I'm gonna need help doing that. Otherwise, you don't want to be 95 and say, yeah, I've had a good life, but all these regrets. I should have done this, I should have done that. Oh, I don't want to be like that. And you know what? I love my brother to death, but I'll be damned if I like him. I don't want to be like that. He, you know,
But
you,
Chris, do you, I do not, a lot of people ask me that question only because, they like to ask, hey, Karen, what do you like, sort of thing, and do you regret anything in your life? I got to tell you that every piece of my life has taught me a lesson, and I never regret anything I've done. I've never regretted anything. I've never regretted being married, once or twice, and then, et cetera, et cetera. But it's so funny because all those situations have taught me life lessons and made me stronger.
Sure.
And then when I get into that, I I always think of Snoopy, and what's the guy's name who walks around in a dustbin,
Oh yeah.
the guy who walks around
Pigpen.
Pigpen, and he's always dusty, and I always think of him walking along and then walking out of that and dusting himself off and going, "Yep, I'm here." So it's and then the saying that to challenge yourself. I just said that to my grandson, who, is refusing to, well, not refusing, but I think he has a fear of going to work. He's 19. And then so I always say to him, challenge yourself, and then change is good. And these things are so important because otherwise you're just going to end up getting older. And, I'm older than you are, Chris, and getting older and becoming an absolute wuss. It's like-
But it's yeah, well, depends on how you're raised. My dad's went same time as my brother. My dad was British military. I'll be damned if I come home. I used to come home. Being a kid, I used to. My mom used to say, "Your dad's home. Turn I Love Lucy off. Turn the Flintstones. Go outside and get a hockey stick." My dad was always about. My dad was always about. He told me one thing: get your bum checked, get your stomach checked. Don't let your belly get too big, and check for colon cancer.
I
He
like
would,
that. Don't let your belly get
yeah.
too
I mean,
big.
I used to think when I was 19 or 18, I used to think my dad was ragging on me. But boy, are you kidding?
Yeah.
You, colonoscopy every 4 years, man. You know what? I'm coming out of the course probably in October, and it's not even a course. The biggest thing people got to know is what my brother didn't do, because my brother had signs and symptoms of this. He ignored it. That's
Mhm.
Right.
the biggest people got to know is two things: keep your body moving, but number one, know what you want. But the biggest thing is know where you stand. If you're
That's right.
not healthy, get healthy because your time's ticking, and not to scare you, but just know how you improve yourself. If believe in improvement, you believe in wanting to get bigger, richer, happier.
Everybody's level of improvement is different, though. Everybody's level of success is different, though. I know people that would be happy making $30,000 a year working at Tim Hortons and having a small one-bedroom apartment and
But
whatever,
that's
right?
yeah, and but that's that person, and that
And I
person
applaud that person. I
Absolutely.
actually envy that person because their life is so much more simple and easy than someone like myself. And I'm sure Karen that we have these big goals. I mean, how does someone at, I don't want to say your age, but how does someone at Karen's level, age wise, still feel so inclined and excited about life enough that she wants to build something special out of a business that she's been running for 45 years or whatever it is? That's pretty amazing and pretty inspiring in and of itself to
Well,
have
Tony
somebody.
Robbins does it all the time. Tony
Well, that's
Robbins
it.
is still
That's it.
building, right? And
But
he
that's the
was like,
point, is that you
and
you guys are awesome for being able to do that at the age that you're at. Both, I mean, you're a few years older than me, Chris, as is Karen. And I take a lot of inspiration for you guys wanting to do what you guys do as you continue to age. I think it's incredible. Same.
As you get older, you need one thing in your life every single day. You need progress. So for someone, new immigrants come over to Canada, they come with nothing, and they work at Tim Horton and they share rooms, and like, yeah, you got to applaud those people. I mean,
Yeah.
they've progressed.
Yeah.
That's what life's about. Doesn't matter what level you start at, it's as long as you keep going up,
yeah.
right? And they're desperate. So which being a little desperate is pretty damn nice because it makes you eager to want to do it all.
Context is everything. Totally.
Absolutely.
There was an agent that used to work in our office, Karen, in the Oakville office anyway. And I wish I could remember his name. And we were sitting down one day in the office and he was talking to me and he was like, yeah, like, and he didn't really, I don't want to get too graphic here, but like he came from a war torn country. He was forced to do things in the military that he should never have done in a way that was completely irresponsible and awful. And he picked up his family and fled that country with nothing and made their way across Europe eventually and made their way to Canada, showed up in Canada and now have opportunity to live a life that he is able to design for himself.
Yeah.
And he took it upon himself to, work at bars and restaurants and things to get money, to be able to build up to where he was at, eventually get his real estate license and all these things, and I feel like, having that kind of a background puts life into perspective for you to want to do more for yourself going forward, as opposed to sometimes even me, like my family gave me a ridiculous life that probably 70 or 80% of the people that are in this country never could have experienced because of the amount of, money that my parents made in real estate growing up when I was a kid. They did well for themselves and they took us all over the world, and it's a different life.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to come out of that, it's just a different context to allow me to have to grow a different way. Right. And I think that's where my assholism came from, was because I had this sort of silver spoon mindset. I deserve all these things. Blah. And it's, I don't want to say I regret it, but to Karen's point, I've learned from that. Right. Like I've been able to take that and go, okay, maybe I'm a little embarrassed by how I treated some people back in the day, but I certainly won't be that person anymore.
Yeah,
Right?
good for you. Yeah, well, you know what, you have a good mentor, and boy,
Well,
that
she's all right.
you get a
Let
good
me ask you one question and then we can sort of get to the end because we're pushing against time here. So coaching with you, what does a day look like for coaching with you? Like, what do you get when you get a coaching program with Christopher Hayward?
You know what? It all begins of knowing where you stand, where you want to go, what are your obstacles, why is that obstacle stopping you? But the biggest thing is it's questions we ask you and we dig deep. We dig real deep. And you're gonna find out in a matter of time, you're gonna find it, you're gonna say to yourself, God, I didn't even think of that. Because you're so comfortable living among yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about asking questions and digging really deep. And it's about having you develop more confidence, you develop a mindset. But the biggest thing is we guide people. We're not therapists, we're not mentors. We guide people from where they are to where they want to go. We're their best friends. And the biggest thing is we challenge you a lot. You get a lot of challenge. And so you do 1,000 push-ups. Why can't you do 1,500 push-ups? It's motivating people. It's about getting them from point A to B, but taking one step at a time. And no one's bad in this world. People just pick the wrong habits. 40 to 60% of what you do a day is all habit. It's about dropping some habits and implement a new habits. Just challenging people. And people say, like I said, I get clients that say to me, I can't believe how damn good I feel. And
Right.
I didn't do anything. I'm just
They did the work. You just provided the guideline.
yeah. I just said, I just guided them.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that asked them deep open questions for them to think, boy, that's really, you know what? Where else you get in your lifetime if we meet like every 2 weeks for like an hour and a half? And it's about all questions. And where else you get an hour and a half of someone giving you that hour and a half of pure silence between you and that person, and them getting lots of questions, and for them to think about, for them to think, boy, really, I could really do that? And of course you can. So it's like someone pushing you, someone holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Because if you fade off, you don't want to fade off because but it's a great feeling to success, because like your mom was, like Karen was saying, once you get the success, once you walk 3Ks, boy, I can do 10, I can do 20. Like who said that's your ceiling? Who says you can't do you're within reason? Who says you can't do a ton more? Like people are so comfortable, but there's a ton more people can do than they're doing now. And again, it's just depends on if you want to be here or you want to be up here. You got a coach to help you.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I had a conversation with Chris before the show, and He was kind enough to offer something up. And so I just wanted to give him the floor to say what he wants to offer. So he's got a little bit of, well, first of all, we're going to put all of Chris's links below in the chat below. And so if you want to get a hold of Chris, if you're looking for someone to guide you, mentor you, help you through the moment that you're in your life, this is the moment to click the button below. This is your moment without having to have someone pass away or any kind of tragic moment to get your reset, and look below and grab that link and just go ahead and check something. So go click Chris's link and reach out to him. However, Chris, what do you got for us?
Well, if so, you know what? If someone, there's a lot of people, because coaching is the new yoga. It's a $6 to $7 billion business now. Yoga 20 years ago, people are thinking, who does yoga? But if people ever wonder what it's like to be coached, they can call me. I'll give them an hour for free. And you know what it is? It's for me to out service them. There's no money involved. I'm not going to say next week, hey, can I have your Visa card? It benefits you. I get the thrill of seeing your eyes pop out of your head after an hour. But we give them let's hopefully that doesn't happen. But I give them an hour where it's thought-provoking questions. And if they want more, they can have more. But if they can go away for the hour thinking, boy, that hour was incredible. That's what most people are saying. So if they're curious to know what it's like to be coached, call me. I'll give them an hour for free. And I'm a sales guy, but I'm not pressuring people. I coach people, and if they come back, great. If they don't and they don't see the value, then don't. But people always see the value.
I think one of the biggest things I'll say about coaches is that you got to find the right one for you.
Absolutely.
Right? So like, it's as much as you can't fit the square peg in a round hole, or whatever that version of that is. Like if you find a coach and you're like, it just doesn't feel right, it's probably not the right coach. Find someone else, right? Don't get rid of it altogether and be like, that's never going to work because that one person had a bad experience with me. There might be someone else out there that could hammer home the message in the way that you need it, in the way that you need it.
And Justin's very right. You got to find the right coach. And there were a couple of times in my career that I found a wrong coach. And so I had to, sort of cut it off. And it was hard to do that because, they question you. So I had to cut them off and say, sorry, but I'm going to go to another coach, So
Well, I've had a guy a lady's got her own business in Oakville. And I knew she needed help. I knew she could do well, but just inclination, just a funny feeling. I knew someone else who would probably fit her better. And like, I'm not gonna pretend, I'll make it work. No, it's like getting married. You better be damn good right off the bat, or you're in trouble in 10 years. So I said, I love to work with you, but I think you could be better with this one. Then fine. But if you find the right one, and you got the chemistry and you got everything going for you, boy, you're Scott. You think you're good now. You're Scott.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I'll put all Chris's links below if Andrea hasn't done that already, which she typically does prior to the end of the show. And we'll make sure that people get in touch, and we'll go from there. But Chris, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, a bit of what you've been through and the story you have. And we appreciate just the message you bring. This has been a really kind of interestingly introspective podcast or communication today. I like it. So I appreciate you, and have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you, Chris. Everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Peace, you guys. It was fun having. Glad you had me.
Okay, we're going to chime off now.
Bye.